Hey there, welcome. It's Karen Lanoue from No Limits Businesswoman, and I'm really excited that you're here today with me. It's the No Limits Live, as we do every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific. And so again, I'm so happy that you're here. Today we have a really good subject, which is, are you doing balance all wrong? What I find and hear from so many people is like, oh, I don't have balance in my life. I need more balance. I would crave balance. I would love to have balance. And you know what? I have some thoughts on that. So I'm going to get to that in a moment. But if you don't know me, if this is your first time seeing me, again, my name is Karen Lanoue from No Limits Businesswoman and NoLimitsBusinesswoman.com. And I help women in business, whether they are in they have their own business or whether they're working for somebody else, doesn't matter. I help all women in either area to up-level their game. So they're actually getting more of what they want. They're making more money. They're living more of their purpose, and they're achieving more of their personal goals. And how we do that is by addressing procrastination, overwhelm, self-sabotage, and the imposter syndrome, because that's what stops us. And so today, again, I'm going to be talking about balance and how, some of the things that you can do about that. Also, what I want to share with you today is, if you haven't watched my webinar, the 5 steps, and I'm just getting over here so I can see it. 5 steps my clients use to overcome overwhelm, procrastination, self-sabotage, and the imposter syndrome. And to go there, it's free to watch and free to check out. So go to NoLimitsBusinesswoman.com/training. And what that will do is I'll take you there, and the training's ongoing all the time. So go and check that out. So today, again, are you doing balance all wrong? What I hear from people, and mostly women, although this happens, of course, to men too. It just really depends on your circumstances. Women's, so much so, are really responsible for so many things: their family, their career, their parents, their kids, their household, maybe. So all these things tend to, we start to get overwhelmed. And so we're just feeling like there's too much to do. And what ends up happening, and kind of the culmination of that, is that they get tired, right? Again, they're overwhelmed. It's like, oh my God, I have so much to do. And starting to feel quite dissatisfied because they're not getting to spend the time on the things that they want. And they're not getting to spend the time with the people that they want. And what happens over time when this doesn't get solved is they get burnt out. And I mean, how many of us have known somebody who gets burnt out, right? Especially in the corporate world. But again, I'm going to say especially in the corporate world, but that's not necessarily true. Certainly business people also get burnt out, because especially entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, what ends up happening is they're doing everything on their own, right? And it's really easy to kind of just get overwhelmed and burnt out and tired, right? It's like, especially when things are not necessarily going the way that you want. So again, they start feeling dissatisfied, and they feel kind of like a drone, right? Like, it's like, okay, I'm just going from one thing to the other, and it can end up in feeling like a little bit of a victim, right? It's like, it's like life is happening to me. My business is happening. My work is happening to me. I have to do all these things, and I'm not getting them done. And so again, there's just this great feeling of dissatisfaction that just says life is not working out the way that I want, right? So what I suggest, well, even before I get there, what happens when you start to change this, and what happens when you start to solve this and start to look at this differently, what happens is that life gets easier. It feels easier. You're happier. You're feeling more confident, and you're feeling way more in control of your life. So I'm going to share some specific tips today, and thoughts, perspectives that maybe you haven't heard before. First of all, I kind of don't think balance exists, and balance in terms of, because balance actually implies, well, if I do this, or I'm going to do all of these things equally. And that's, of course, not true. Maybe that's not how you think of balance, but I think sometimes, well, that's what the word balance means, is that, it's just like they're both parts are equal, or all parts are equal, right? it doesn't exist like that. That's not the real world. So what I would suggest instead is start thinking about this and start thinking about, you know, how you think about your life, your business, or the things in your work environment, or what it is that you're feeling out of balance with. And I want you to start thinking about how you actually, again, feel about them. Are they feeling like an obligation or like a choice? And that's where we start to, and that's what I would suggest, is start reframing this. Because when we think that, when we feel like, or when we have the story that it feels like everything we do is an obligation, it's just like, it's like a slog. We're just kind of slogging through life. And here's the thing, it's a story, right? That is a story. You're making a choice. You're just not calling it a choice. And when we feel like we have an obligation and not a choice, we feel put upon, we feel out of control, we feel like we are a victim of all these circumstances, when in fact, you have chosen them. Okay, are you uncomfortable yet? And again, you want to start moving out of that. You want to start moving out of that feeling that this is an obligation, and that, okay, somewhere along the line, I chose this. Okay, well, what would I like to choose instead? Because again, I chose this. I chose, and you know, while I don't have kids, I've not had kids. Certainly, I have a family. I have my husband, my pooches to look after. I had a household, you know, to help maintain. I have a business, of course. Prior it was my job, and you know, a number of years ago, I had my mom to look after, and she, you know, from 2000, my dad died in 2004, and my mom died in 2014. So for 10 years, I had her, and she had a stroke prior. She had cancer prior, so she was living on her own. She needed help. I went and visited her every day. I think it was virtually every day. And so there was that extra portion that was added onto my day. And here's the thing, is I could make a choice about that. We got help for her. We got help to come in and help her. And luckily enough, where we live in Canada is, you know, we could do that. And that was a possibility for her in her circumstances. But I was not there all the time by any stretch of the imagination. I would finish my work day and go and see her, and then, you know, and then come home, you know, get groceries, do all that. And, you know, do the things, look after my dogs, you know, do all those things that needed to be done, right? Including, again, making sure that my mom was okay. So there's those kinds of circumstances. Now, some of you have that and kids, right? So it's, again, all, you know, a lot of extra duties. So I want you to start thinking about balance and your daily activities and things that are kind of adding up, and looking at it and asking yourself, okay, how do I think about this? Do I think about this as an obligation or a choice? Because again, 100% it's a choice. You have just moved it into the obligation category. So start moving it back into, okay, I have a choice here. So if I have a choice here, what is it that I would really like to do? So again, often we're not doing that. We're complaining about it, right? Like, it's easy to bitch, right? It's easy to complain. But instead, what if you started to look at, you know, start to create that imagined life? What would you like that to look like? And when you start thinking about that, then, and start thinking, well, okay, the ideal life would be, you know, that, you know, somebody would come and clean my house, and somebody would look after the kids. I'd have a nanny. I would, you know, would have full-time care for my parents. I would be making a lot of money so I could do X, Y, and Z. I could travel. I could spend more time with my friends. I could go to yoga. I could, you know, you name it, all those things. Okay, well, so then tell me, what would that perfect day look like? What would that perfect week look like? What would life look like to you? Start really imagining what you would really like to have life look like. Because when we're just kind of in the complaining mode, what ends up happening is that, again, we're creating our own victimhood in this, and we don't want to do that. What we want to do is start creating that situation. So, okay, this is what I'd like. Then what you want to do is start imagining that. You want to start focusing on that. and start asking questions. What would it take? What would it take to have that happen? What would it take to actually have somebody come and you know, a nanny and maybe a you know, a housekeeper? Maybe the nanny and the housekeeper could be the same, right? Could I do that? Well, okay, maybe you have the funds to do that. Then get one. All right, get that help. If you don't have the funds to do that, then who can you delegate to? Is there somebody else that can help you? Or and again, you're not going to eliminate your kids, you can't eliminate your family necessarily, but again, how can you get help? Are there other activities that you're doing on an ongoing basis that you don't need to anymore, right? That you can start to eliminate? And can your job or can your business be rearranged? So I was lucky enough that, I mean, when my dad passed away, I was still working in a job. And so I had to, you know, I would ask for some help. I would ask for I would ask for some flexibility in being able to look after and do the things. And I had that. So, but I had to ask, okay? So, and then when I started my business, I had way more flexibility to do and be where I wanted to when I had to be. So start asking those questions. What would it take to have this time frame for myself? And again, delegate. As women, we do not delegate enough. I promise you, as most people don't delegate enough, but you know, certainly women do not delegate enough. So where can you be delegating? And you might be saying, you might be rolling your eyes and saying, yeah, my husband or my partner, they don't do that. Well, you know, have you asked? Or they're not very good about it. Or they're not good at, you know, it's a chore, or, you know, to get them to do it. Or I can't get my kids because they never do it right. Get over it. That's about control, right? That's about Control, and it pigeonholes you. It makes your life smaller because you want to control all of these things. So what if they don't do it right? So if it's not up to your standards? At least it's done, and then you can maybe, you know, spend half the time, a quarter of the time, you know, 10 minutes instead. You kind of going behind and fixing things up the way you like it. Just start delegating. Start getting the help that you want. I've seen so many moms, you know, and women just do this over and over again, where they take on a duty and they don't ask for help. So, and again, it doesn't have to be all your way. Just ask for help. All right. So that then can start to create, again, more options, more openness for you. And again, it starts to eliminate that victimhood, right? That idea, that obligation. It's like, oh, I have no choice in this. You always have a choice. It's a choice. And as soon as you start to flip it and say, yeah, no, I have a choice in this, I'm doing it, you can start to actually reframe it so you start to feel happier. All right. So that's another thing to do. The other thing, again, I would also suggest is that you schedule in the things that you want to do. Work will fill the time that you give it, right? I forget it's not Murphy's Law. Is it the Peter Principle? No, I think that's another thing. But anyways, whatever that law is, work will give you whatever time that you give. It will fill up the time that you give it. So if you say, I'm going to work from 8 till 4, I'm not going to take any time off, it will fill that time. I promise you. If you say, I'm going to work from 8 till 1 o'clock, let's say you're in your own business, and you will start to become far more efficient, right? So all of a sudden that procrastination might go away, right? That overwhelm might start to go away because now you've, you know, freed up some hours in your day. But schedule it so it works for you. If you are missing your friends and you don't get to see them anymore, schedule a time every week on Thursdays, or every week on Saturday. I'm going to go spend time with my friends, again, and just make it happen, right? Scheduling things, as mundane as it feels, and that feels controlling, right? Then let that be your sense of control. If you want control, let that be your control. But, you know, give up the idea that it has to be this idea that you don't have balance. You have choices. You always have choices. So when you start to make choices and then start to ask for help, that starts to change the dynamic. When you start to ask questions, what would it take for me to live my life? When you get really clear about what you want, your life, your work life, your love life, your friend life, all of it, you know, your exercise, all that stuff, what would you like your life to look like? Get really clear about that and start asking the questions. What would it take for this to happen? Don't answer the question. Don't answer the question. And so, here's, that's where I want to leave you with today. Is there anything else I wanted to oh yeah, this is it. Also, so again, go back to imagining what you would really like your life to be like. If you could work, kind of, if life is going to look like the way it is right now, what can you do? What would it take to change it? I don't want you to answer that question. Okay, yeah, I don't want you to answer that question. I want you to actually just to ask the question, go away, go do something, just go do more work or just wash the dishes or drive home, whatever it is. Ask the question and let your mind start to find the answer. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to start doing quest formations. And so a quest formation could look like, I have an incredibly wonderful life. I have all the time. No, let's do this. The affirmation could be, I have all the time to do exactly what I want. Right? So I'm going to introduce you to the Fuggler. So the Fuggler, this is the gremlin. This is what I'm going to kind of put up anytime that we have these mindset, gremlins that come up. It's like the Fuggler comes up and starts, banging you in the head. It's like its voice is kind of saying, who do you think you are? You can't do this. We want to get rid of this. We want to actually just, drop that. And oops, hello, Pepper. and so Pepper really likes the Fuggler for some reason. But anyways, that's Pepper on the tripod. But what you want to start to do is, again, do the affirmation. Affirmations, if you just leave it at affirmation, it's like the Fuggler is going to kind of come and start screaming in your ear, going, saying, no, you can't. Who do you think you are? That's just dumb. Nobody has balance. You're never going to have balance. Whatever it is, you're always going to be, you're just going to be tired all the time, right? It's just saying, that all the time. Don't let it keep, don't let it do that. So what you want to start to do is the quest formation instead. So a quest formation is an affirmation in the form of a question. So you could do it, you could do it like this. You could just start, I have all the time in the world. Why do I have all the time in the world? How great is it that I have all the time I want, or all the time in the world? I am so happy and thankful that I have all the time in the world. Let's change this up again. What could we do instead? Just a little bit of a shift. I have control of my schedule, or I am in control of my schedule. Why am I in control of my schedule? How great is it that I'm in control of my schedule? Because really, how great would it be? And I'm so happy and thankful I am in full control of my schedule. Keep repeating that. Something, again, you use your own words, whatever it is that you really like to have. Or I have enough time for my kids. I have more than enough time for my kids. I have more than enough time for my partner. I have enough time to go to yoga every day. I have enough time to visit with my friends every week. Whatever it is. But again, use that affirmation. I have enough of, or I have exactly what I want. I have enough time for my kids. Why do I have enough time for my kids? How great is it that I have enough time for my kids? I am so happy and thankful that I have enough time for my kids. I have enough time to read. Why do I have enough time to read? How great is it that I have enough time to read? I am so happy and thankful that I have enough time to read. What happens when you do a quest formation is that the Fuggler, it's like it starts searching for the answer. It's like, oh yeah, why? Why does she have enough time? And it's like, oh, she has enough time. She's happy about having enough time. Well, how is she doing that? And then I'm so happy and I am so happy and thankful. Again, it's kind of the affirmations at the beginning and the end, but the two parts in the middle of the quest formation change the dynamic. It starts to change your state. And if you watch anything about Tony Robbins, he's all about changing states. When you change your state, your life changes. So I'm going to leave you with that today. And what I want to do is also encourage you, if you are not part of the No Limits Businesswoman group yet, come and join us. The best way and easiest way to do that is go to sheis.me. Again, that's sheis.me. And it's a great way to actually just to go and join. And there's over 400 women in the group. We're kind of now over the halfway mark in terms of we're almost climbing towards 500. Would love if you would join us. Always posting really cool things in there and starting conversations. So it'd be great for you to come and join us. Last thing also that I will leave you with, again, as always, if you are wanting to level up in your business or your career and you're feeling stalled and you're just tired of trying to figure this out on your own, let's chat. Go to NoLimitsBusinessWoman.com/talk and let's talk. Let's find out if I can be of service to you, if I can help, and if you're a fit for the program. And I would love to chat. I love these calls. So it would be great to do that. So again, NoLimitsBusinessWoman.com/talk. So in the meantime, what I'd like you to do, I'd love you to do is if you were watching this later or watching this on one of the groups or the pages on Facebook or later on a podcast or on YouTube, wherever it is, make sure, come on over and maybe we can come up with a name for the Fuggler. I kind of like Fuggler, but maybe he needs to have a name. Again, this is a gremlin, and he's bonking you in the head, trying to get your attention, saying you can't do that. So let's give him a name, and love your suggestions. All right, have a wonderful day, and go out and live the No Limits life. Bye bye.